You were never born, and you will never end. Who are you when all of the masks fall away? What remains when the echoes of your name fade into the cosmic hum? And what if everything you believe to be real is a meticulously crafted dream, dreamed not by some distant deity, but by consciousness itself, the very fabric of existence woven into a tapestry of perception? Imagine, if you dare, that all the certainties you clutch, your identity, your history, your relationships, your triumphs, and your perceived failures, are merely fleeting scenes in a grand narrative, a story you've scripted, yet somehow forgotten you authored. Welcome to the threshold of knowing. Today we embark on a journey beyond the familiar landscapes of thought, venturing not to a new destination on a map, but into a profound state of being, a realm where the pursuit of profound questions eclipses the need for simple answers. This expedition is not for the complacent, for it demands a willingness to relinquish the seductive comfort of the known, to peer into the boundless expanse of infinity, where all assumed truths dissolve, revealing the raw, unadulterated truth. Throughout the annals of human history, enlightened minds and spiritual pioneers have whispered a truth both simple and profoundly unsettling. The self we cling to, the self we defend, is an illusion, a phantom born of misidentification. In the timeless words of the mystic poet Rumi, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop." This resonant vision reverberates across the spectrum of spiritual traditions, from the ancient Vedic teachings of India, which describe our perceived reality as Maya, a veil obscuring our true essence, to the philosophical inquiries of Alan Watts, who gently reminds us, "You are not a person, you are the universe experiencing itself through a particular point of view." But what are the practical implications of this revelation? How can we directly experience this profound truth within the context of our everyday lives? Intriguingly, this ancient wisdom is now being echoed by cutting-edge discoveries in quantum physics, where the concept of a unified field suggests an interconnectedness of all things, blurring the lines between observer and observed. It's as though the entire universe is a sprawling, interactive stage, and you, in your infinite potential, are simultaneously the actor, the playwright, and the engaged audience. This convergence of science and spirituality provides a powerful bridge for understanding our fundamental nature. If this notion sparks a sense of unease or discomfort, it is likely because we have grown accustomed to perceiving ourselves as discrete, isolated entities, as bodies inhabiting a world, rather than as facets of consciousness actively creating and experiencing that world. But what if this very separation is the grand illusion? What if the self you believe you know is simply a transient mask, a character momentarily embodying a role in the infinite drama unfolding within consciousness itself? If you are not merely who you believe you are, if you extend beyond the confines of your physical form, your thoughts and your accumulated stories, then who, in essence, are you? This question marks the threshold we now cross. We navigate our lives deeply invested in the story that we are separate beings, individuals isolated from one another, confined within the limitations of our bodies, and defined by names, titles, and societal roles. This deeply ingrained perception of separation shapes every facet of our existence, influencing our choices, amplifying our fears, and dictating our aspirations. Yet throughout history, sages and philosophers have consistently pointed toward a hidden truth. In Eastern traditions, this illusion is known as Maya, the veil that obscures our perception of ultimate reality. Plato, in his renowned allegory of the cave, painted a vivid picture of prisoners confined to seeing only shadows projected on a wall, mistaking these ephemeral shadows for the entirety of reality, while the true world remains unseen, unheard, and unfelt. To begin unraveling the illusion of the separate self, it is essential to examine the very foundations upon which our identity is constructed. From our earliest moments, we are taught to identify with a body, a name, a cultural heritage, a personal history. These identifiers become our touchstones, anchors that provide a sense of a solid and fixed self, a reference point from which we navigate the complexities of the world. However, this identity is far from static. It is in a perpetual state of flux, transforming as we age, evolving as we confront new challenges, and adapting as we embrace new beliefs. The person you were at the tender age of 5 is undoubtedly different from the person you are today, and yet despite these profound changes, you still experience a sense of continuity. What is the source of this unwavering sense of self? This perceived continuity is fueled by the tireless efforts of the mind, which constantly strives to weave a cohesive narrative about who I am. The mind constructs elaborate stories, drawing upon fragments of memories, lived experiences, and projected future expectations. It functions much like a skilled movie director, meticulously editing together a series of scenes to create a compelling plot that seemingly makes sense. But just as a movie is ultimately a carefully constructed illusion comprised of static frames that, when viewed in rapid succession, create the impression of continuous motion, our identity is likewise built from a collection of fleeting thoughts and fragmented memories that, when strung together, create the illusion of a fixed and unchanging self. The inherent problem with clinging to this illusion is that it ultimately traps us, restricting our potential and limiting our experience of life. When we believe that we are solely defined by our stories, our roles, or our physical bodies, we become imprisoned by those limitations. We fear the inevitable embrace of death because we mistakenly believe it to be the absolute end of the self. We engage in competitive struggles with one another because we are convinced of our fundamental separation. We suffer deeply from criticism and judgment because we perceive these external attacks as a threat to the very foundation of our fragile identity. Yet, increasingly, modern scientific evidence, particularly from the realm of quantum physics, lends credence to the understanding that separation is, at its core, an illusion. Pioneering scientists such as David Bohm have eloquently spoken of the implicate order, an underlying reality where all things are intrinsically interconnected. At this fundamental level, there are no truly separate objects or entities. Instead, everything is an inseparable component of a single, unified field of energy and information. When we awaken to this profound reality, we begin to understand that the sense of separation we experience is merely a limited mode of perception, a particular way of interpreting the physical world, but not a reflection of the ultimate truth. So, how do we begin the process of transcending this deeply ingrained illusion? The crucial first step is to challenge the very notion of a fixed identity. When you use the word I, to what exactly are you referring? Is it your physical body? Is it the constant stream of thoughts that flow through your mind? Is it your collection of memories, both cherished and painful? And if we observe each of these aspects with careful attention, we quickly realize that they are all in a perpetual state of change. Your body is not the same physical entity it was even yesterday. Your thoughts arise and dissolve like fleeting clouds in the vast expanse of the sky. And your memories are often fragmented, unreliable, and colored by subjective interpretation. So who or what is the I that is observing all of these transient phenomena? This inquiry is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is an invitation to a direct experiential understanding. Practices such as meditation, self-inquiry, as taught by Ramana Maharshi, or simply cultivating a state of mindful presence can help us to see beyond the limiting narratives of the mind. As the layers of superficial identity begin to gently fall away, we may glimpse the realization that the separate self was never truly real. Instead, we discover a boundless, silent, and ever-present awareness, which is the very essence of who we are. Everything in the tapestry of life is subject to change. Thoughts arise and fade away, emotions surge and subside, the physical body undergoes constant transformation, and external circumstances shift with every passing moment. Yet, despite this constant flux, something fundamental remains. There is an unchanging, silent backdrop upon which all of this activity unfolds. That something is what countless spiritual masters, philosophers, and even scientists have referred to as consciousness, but not the limited form of consciousness associated with being awake or perceiving the world around you. Instead, it is a deep, boundless essence that simply is the fundamental ground of being upon which all of existence is founded. This consciousness is not something you possess, it is something you are. It is the boundless space within which all thoughts, sensations, and perceptions arise and ultimately dissolve. Imagine a vast, clear blue sky. Clouds may form, drift across the horizon, and eventually dissipate, but the sky itself remains untouched, unchanged, and unaffected by the transient activity within it. In the same way, your true essence, this universal consciousness, lies beyond the realm of all transient experiences. You are not the clouds, the passing thoughts, or the fleeting emotions. You are the sky itself, Since the dawn of human awareness, spiritual traditions have pointed toward this profound truth. The Upanishads, ancient texts from India, proclaim Tattvam Asi, you are that. In this context, that refers to the underlying essence of all things, the Atman, which is ultimately identical to Brahman, the universal consciousness. In the West, philosophers such as Plotinus spoke of the One, the ultimate origin and source of all reality. More recently, Eckhart Tolle describes this consciousness as the now, the state of pure presence that exists beyond the limitations of time and form. But what does this mean for you, in this moment, right here and now? It means that the belief that you are merely a body, a mind, or an identity is profoundly limiting. What you truly are is something far greater, something that transcends the constraints of time, space, and form. When you recognize this, something profound shifts within you. The pervasive feeling of isolation and struggle begins to dissipate, replaced by a deep sense of connection with everything around you. You realize that you are not simply living in the universe, you are the universe itself, temporarily manifesting as you. This recognition need not remain an abstract concept or a distant ideal. It can be directly experienced in the immediacy of your present awareness. Gently close your eyes for a moment and simply observe. Thoughts arise and fade, sensations come and go, sounds and images appear within your mind's eye. Now, pose this question to yourself. Who or what is aware of all of this? There is something that is perpetually present, always observing, always witnessing. This presence cannot be adequately captured by words or concepts, yet it is always there, always available, silent, and unchanged. Universal consciousness is akin to a vast ocean, and each of us is like a temporary wave rising upon its surface. The wave may appear to be separate and distinct, but deep down, it is comprised of the very same substance as the ocean. When we truly realize that we are the ocean and not simply the wave, a radical shift occurs in our perception. We are no longer mere victims of our circumstances or prisoners of our limiting thoughts. We are liberated, infinite, and deeply connected to all that exists. Recognizing that you are universal consciousness fundamentally transforms the way you approach life. Suddenly, the problems that once seemed insurmountable begin to lose their perceived gravity. You realize that everything is unfolding as part of a grand, intricate flow, and that your true essence is beyond the reach of any problem or circumstance. This realization brings forth a profound sense of peace, not because external situations magically change, but because you fundamentally change your relationship with them. You begin to release your resistance to life and start to flow with it. There is an underlying order to the universe, an invisible structure that governs everything happening around us and within us. This order is not something artificially imposed from without, but rather an intrinsic quality, like the harmonious rhythm of a symphony that all things naturally follow, even if they are not consciously aware of it. This fundamental structure is what many refer to as the universal laws. These laws, unlike the human-created laws that can be broken or altered, are eternal, immutable, and apply equally to everything and everyone, from the smallest subatomic particle to the vast expanse of galaxies. The law of unity, for example, reminds us that everything is ultimately interconnected. You, me, the wind gently rustling the leaves outside your window, the distant stars twinkling in the night sky. We are all unique expressions of a single consciousness manifesting in diverse forms. This profound interconnectedness means that what we do to others, we are ultimately doing to ourselves, and what transpires in one corner of the world inevitably affects the entire system. The law of vibration complements this understanding by stating that everything is composed of energy and vibrates at a specific frequency. Our thoughts, our emotions, and even our physical bodies are all forms of energy in constant motion. When you are filled with feelings of love, gratitude, or joy, your vibration naturally rises, and you attract experiences that resonate at that same elevated frequency. Conversely, emotions such as fear, anger, or resentment lower your vibration, attracting circumstances that reflect that state. This is why consciously shifting your internal perspective can profoundly transform your external reality. These universal laws are not merely abstract concepts to be intellectually understood. They are dynamic forces that we can actively apply in our daily lives. When we begin to observe our thoughts and emotions with mindful awareness, we realize that they are not neutral. They have a direct impact on our experience. For example, call to mind a moment when you felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for something, even if it seemed relatively small. Perhaps it was witnessing a breathtaking sunset, receiving a warm smile from a loved one, or experiencing an unexpected act of kindness. In that particular moment, you likely felt as though the world was in perfect harmony. This is the tangible power of gratitude in action, one of the most potent ways to elevate your vibration and align yourself with the universal laws. Similarly, the law of cause and effect teaches us that everything we do, think, or feel generates a corresponding reaction. It is akin to planting seeds in a field. Each action, thought, or feeling is a seed that will inevitably bear fruit, whether sweet or bitter, depending on the quality of the seed. Nothing in the universe is truly random. Everything we experience is the result of something that was set in motion, consciously or unconsciously, at some point in time. This fundamental law encourages us to take full responsibility for our lives, realizing that we are, in essence, co-creators of our reality. Actively applying these universal laws requires a delicate balance between understanding and consistent practice. It is not enough to simply know that your thoughts create your reality. You must consciously cultivate thoughts and emotions that are aligned with the reality you wish to manifest. This does not imply ignoring or suppressing negative emotions, but rather acknowledging them, understanding their root cause, and then consciously choosing to shift your focus to something more positive and empowering. And there is an even deeper understanding to be gleaned. These laws are not separate from you. They are not external forces operating independently in the universe, waiting to act upon you. They are intrinsically intertwined with your very being, because you are an inseparable part of this vast and interconnected universe. The illusion of separation we perceive between me and the world is a cognitive distortion. When you truly realize this, you understand that living in harmony with these laws is, in essence, living in harmony with your own true nature. The pertinent question then becomes, how are you currently utilizing these universal laws, whether consciously or unconsciously? Every thought you entertain, every emotion you embrace, and every action you undertake is actively shaping your future. What kind of life do you aspire to create? Since the dawn of human civilization, we have been captivated by the notion that our thoughts have the power to shape our reality. The mind is an incredibly potent instrument, capable of creating entire worlds, both internally and externally. But like any powerful tool, it must be wielded with awareness and intention, or it can easily become an obstacle rather than an ally. Modern science, particularly in the fields of neuroscience and psychology, has begun to delve into the intricate ways in which our thoughts directly impact our experiences. Research has demonstrated that the brain does not always fully differentiate between vividly imagined experiences and those that are perceived as real. For example, elite athletes often employ visualization techniques to enhance their performance. When they mentally rehearse a specific movement or visualize a successful outcome, the same regions of the brain are activated as if they were physically performing the action. This compelling evidence suggests that our thoughts are not merely abstract mental constructs. They have a tangible physical impact on our bodies and, by extension, on our perceived reality. Moreover, the role of the subconscious mind is crucial to consider. Only a small fraction of our thoughts occur at the conscious level. The vast majority, the deeply ingrained belief patterns, the habitual behaviors, and the emotional associations, are rooted within the depths of our subconscious mind. It is as though we are driving a car with an autopilot system that has been programmed based on past experiences, often without realizing that we possess the ability to change the intended destination. To effectively alter this pre-programmed system, we must first become aware of its underlying patterns and then consciously rewrite it with intention and purpose. The transformative power of the mind becomes even more evident when we explore the law of attraction, which posits that our thoughts and emotions vibrate at a specific frequency and attract experiences that resonate with that particular frequency. If you have ever awakened on a day when you felt particularly irritable or unmotivated, you may have noticed how everything seemed to conspire to go wrong. Conversely, when you are in a positive and optimistic frame of mind, things tend to flow smoothly and unexpected opportunities often arise. This is not merely a matter of coincidence, it is a direct reflection of your mental energy and action. One of the most significant challenges we face, however, is learning to master our thoughts effectively. The mind is inherently active, often operating like a turbulent stream of ideas, worries, and fragmented memories. Practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and journaling can be invaluable tools for calming this restless stream and cultivating inner clarity. Meditation is not about completely silencing your thoughts, but rather about observing them without attaching to them or becoming swept away by their content. Over time, this practice helps us to realize that we are not our thoughts. We are the expansive space in which they arise and eventually dissolve. A simple exercise that can profoundly transform your relationship with your mind is this. Gently close your eyes and vividly imagine what you wish to manifest in your life. It could be a specific situation, a desired feeling, or even an internal shift in perspective. Allow yourself to truly feel as though it is already real. Notice how your body responds to the imagined experience. This practice of positive visualization not only elevates your vibration, but also subtly programs your subconscious mind to align your actions and perceptions with the desired outcome. However, the true power of the mind extends far beyond the mere manifestation of material desires. It resides in our innate ability to consciously choose our perspective on life. We cannot always control the external circumstances that befall us, but we can always choose how we react to those circumstances. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, poignantly wrote, "Everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." This profound statement underscores the understanding that the power of the mind is not solely about creating an external reality, but also about finding inner freedom and discovering a sense of purpose, even in the midst of the most challenging situations. Ultimately, mastering the mind is a pathway to self-mastery. This does not imply that we will never experience negative thoughts or difficult emotions. It means that we learn to recognize them, understand their underlying origins, and consciously choose to use them as catalysts for personal growth. The power of the mind is not something separate from you. It is an integral part of your inherent nature. Every thought you choose to entertain, every belief you choose to question, and every emotion you consciously allow yourself to feel are the building blocks with which you construct your reality. Ask yourself, what kind of world am I actively creating with my thoughts today? And if the answer does not align with your deepest desires, know that transformation begins right here, right now, with a single conscious thought. Inner transformation is an intensely personal journey, yet it is simultaneously a universal experience that transcends the boundaries of culture, belief, and circumstance. It is the process of turning inward, of delving into the depths of your being, and discovering that true and lasting change does not originate from external sources, but rather from within. We often seek external solutions to our perceived problems, new jobs, new relationships, or even new places to live, hoping that these external changes will magically bring about the happiness and fulfillment we desperately desire. But, as anyone who has embarked on this particular quest can attest, these external solutions are often temporary and ultimately unsatisfying. True and lasting transformation only occurs when we fundamentally change the way we perceive ourselves, the way we relate to the world, and the way we interpret the unfolding of life's events. This profound journey begins with a crucial realization: the recognition that something within our lives needs to shift and evolve. This realization might manifest as a subtle feeling of dissatisfaction, a recurring pattern of suffering, or a pervasive sense of emptiness, even when everything appears to be outwardly right. This is where many encounter the concept of ego death, not in the literal sense of physical death, but rather as a powerful metaphor for relinquishing fixed ideas about who we are, releasing our limiting beliefs, and transcending the roles we habitually play. The ego, in this context, is the intricate network of stories we tell ourselves about who we are, based on our past experiences, our cultural conditioning, and our perceived identity. While the ego serves a practical function, providing a sense of self and a framework for navigating the world, it is also the primary barrier to profound self-knowledge because it clings to the illusion of separation and the perceived need for control. Therefore, inner transformation necessitates a willingness to gently release these deeply ingrained stories. This is rarely an easy process because the ego inherently resists this relinquishment. It whispers that we need to remain in control, that we are defined by our successes or our failures, that we are helpless victims of circumstance. But throughout the annals of human history, spiritual masters and enlightened guides have consistently shown us that true power does not stem from control, but rather from the act of surrender. Jesus eloquently stated, "Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for my sake will find it." The timeless message transcends the boundaries of religious dogma. It is an invitation to relinquish the false self and discover the authentic essence that has always been present. Many people experience fleeting moments of profound clarity, brief glimpses of the vastness that lies beyond the confines of the ego. These moments might manifest as a sudden feeling of inexplicable peace, a deep and abiding connection to the present moment, or a profound realization that we are an integral part of something far greater than we could ever have imagined. These moments serve as beacons, illuminating the path through the darkness of confusion and doubt. Inner transformation also calls us to bravely face and integrate our shadows. Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, described the shadow as the collective of aspects within ourselves that we tend to repress or deny because we deem them to be unacceptable or undesirable. But the shadow is not something to be feared or suppressed. It is, in reality, a potent source of untapped power and hidden wisdom waiting to be integrated. Recognizing and accepting our anger, our sadness, or our insecurities does not imply that we must become victims of these emotions, but rather that we can transform them into valuable tools for personal growth and self-understanding. As Jung poignantly stated, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This profound transformation is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process of evolution and refinement that unfolds throughout the course of a lifetime. It requires unwavering patience, unwavering self-compassion, and a willingness to stumble and rise again and again and again. But over time, something extraordinary begins to occur. You realize that the external factors that once seemed so crucial to your happiness, the approval of others, financial security, and societal status, gradually begin to lose their hold over you. Instead, a deep and abiding sense of contentment and inner peace begins to emerge, a state of being that does not depend on the ever-shifting circumstances of the external world. The journey of inner transformation is ultimately a journey of remembering, a journey of returning to our authentic selves. We are not striving to become something new or different, but rather to return to what we have always been, a state of inherent purity, unwavering presence, and profound connection with the divine. It is similar to the process of polishing a rough diamond. The inherent beauty of the diamond is already present within it. All that is required is to remove the accumulated impurities and reveal the brilliant shine that has always been there. As you traverse this transformative path, you will begin to recognize that you are not simply a passive victim of the world, but rather an active co-creator of your own reality. Inner transformation not only changes the way you feel about yourself and your life, but also profoundly influences the way you interact with others and engage with the world around you. You become a radiant source of light and inspiration, not because you are consciously striving to be something special, but because you have recognized that the divine presence already dwells within you and always has. Are you willing to turn your gaze inward and witness the inherent greatness that has always been yours? There are moments in our lives when we feel an inexplicable connection to something far greater than ourselves. This might occur while witnessing a breathtaking sunset, while listening to music that profoundly touches our soul, or in a moment of profound silence when time seems to momentarily cease to exist. In these fleeting moments, we experience a glimpse of the divine, not as something separate or distant from us, but as a vibrant, tangible presence that permeates every aspect of existence. The divine then ceases to be a mere intellectual concept or a distant belief system, and instead becomes a direct, intimate, and transformative experience. Throughout history, the concept of the divine has taken on a multitude of forms and expressions. In Western traditions, it is often conceived as a personal God, a supreme being that creates, governs, and unconditionally loves. In Eastern traditions, it is described as Brahman, the absolute, the ineffable reality that lies beyond all forms and limitations. Sufi mystics speak of Allah as the beloved, a divine presence that can be felt in every breath, and Taoism reminds us that the divine is the very essence of life, the Tao, which cannot be fully named or completely understood. But regardless of the specific form or interpretation, the core essence of these diverse traditions consistently points to the same fundamental truth. The divine is not located in some distant realm, but resides both within us and all around us. It is the very energy that animates every cell in our bodies, that moves the winds, and that causes the stars to shine with brilliant light. This divine presence is always accessible to us, but we are often blinded to its reality by our daily worries, our ingrained fears, and our habitual identification with the ego. To truly feel the presence of the divine, we do not need to perform extraordinary feats or attain elevated states of consciousness. We simply need to cultivate a state of mindful presence. The simple act of consciously breathing, of noticing the profound silence between sounds, of contemplating the exquisite beauty of a single flower. All of these seemingly ordinary moments can serve as pathways to reconnect us with the sacred essence of life. Rumi, the celebrated Sufi poet, eloquently wrote, "You don't need to seek God, He's already here, inside you, waiting for you to turn to Him." Around the world, there is a growing movement of individuals waking up to the profound interconnectedness of all things. This collective awakening is not merely a spiritual phenomenon. It is also manifesting in social, ecological, and cultural spheres. The artificial barriers that have historically separated us, nations, religions, ideologies, are being increasingly challenged by a deeper and more pervasive awareness, one that recognizes that we are essentially one human family sharing a single, interconnected planet. This collective awakening is not a random occurrence. It is a natural and inevitable part of the evolution of human consciousness. For centuries, our attention has been predominantly focused outward, on conquering territories, developing advanced technologies, and accumulating vast amounts of material wealth. While these achievements have undeniably brought about significant progress in certain areas, they have also inadvertently disconnected us from our own inner essence and from the natural world that sustains us. Now, we are beginning to recognize that true progress is not solely external, but fundamentally internal. We are rediscovering that real and lasting change begins within each of us, and that this individual transformation is the essential foundation for collective transformation. This collective awakening is manifesting in numerous ways. There is a growing interest in contemplative practices such as meditation, yoga, and mindfulness, which help individuals to reconnect with their inner essence and cultivate a deeper sense of self-awareness. There is a rising call for social justice, equality, and environmental stewardship, reflecting the growing recognition that our individual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of all other living beings. And there is a pervasive search for deeper meaning and purpose, a profound hunger for something that transcends the superficiality of materialism and the rampant consumerism that has dominated our culture for far too long. However, this collective awakening is also accompanied by significant challenges. The old system, based on separation, fear, and competition, inherently resists change and actively seeks to maintain its dominance. This is why we are witnessing so much chaos and conflict in the world today. These are the inevitable signs of a profound transition, the moment when the old structures are breaking down to make way for a new and emerging consciousness to take root. This transition process may be painful and disruptive, but it is ultimately necessary for a more harmonious and sustainable future to emerge. The role of each individual in this collective awakening is absolutely crucial. Every thought we entertain, every word we speak, and every action we undertake contributes to the overall energy of the whole. When we consciously choose to live with more love, compassion, and mindful presence, we inspire others to do the same. When we actively heal our inner wounds and transcend our limiting beliefs, we contribute to the healing of the world. As the esteemed spiritual leader Thich Nhat Hanh eloquently stated, "Peace in the world begins with peace in the heart." When we deeply realize that separation is ultimately an illusion, a new way of living begins to unfold, one that is grounded in unity, cooperation, and unconditional love. This is the defining call of our time. We have now arrived at the moment of profound integration. The remaining question is, what will you do with this newfound awareness? Knowing that you are far more than you previously believed can be incredibly liberating, but it also carries with it a profound responsibility. The responsibility to live more consciously, more mindfully present, and more deeply connected. Every thought, every choice, and every action you take has the potential to create ripples that extend throughout all of existence. When you align yourself with your true nature, with the universal laws that govern all of creation, and with the inherent call of the divine, you not only transform your own life, you become a beacon of light that inspires others to awaken to their own inherent potential. Remember that spirituality is not something we do, it is something we are. It is not about reaching a final destination or attaining a particular state of being, but about remembering, in every moment, who you truly are. It is about living with authenticity, unwavering compassion, and the unshakable certainty that you are an inseparable part of a far greater whole. Look at your life with renewed eyes, courageously question the limiting stories you have been telling yourself, fearlessly explore the vast depths of your own consciousness, and allow yourself to feel the profound connection with the divine in everything you do. The entire universe resides within you, patiently waiting to be discovered. And finally, remember, you were never truly born in the deepest sense, and you will never truly die. You are infinite consciousness experiencing a brief and fleeting dream of separation, only to one day awaken to the radiant truth that you have always been whole, unlimited, and eternally connected. Now, the choice is entirely yours. If something within this exploration has deeply resonated with you, share your experience, subscribe to continue delving into these profound mysteries with us, and leave a comment expressing what has touched you most deeply. Until our paths converge again, fellow seeker. So, let's bring it all together. The core message here is a gentle invitation to shed the masks we wear, the stories we tell ourselves, and to recognize the vast, boundless consciousness that you are, Shar, always have been and always will be. It's about remembering that you're not just a drop, but the entire ocean, and that the separation we often feel is ultimately an illusion. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What resonated most deeply with you in this journey through the arcane chest? Do you have any questions? Perhaps a particular concept you'd like to explore further? Leave a comment below. Let's start a conversation and share our insights. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the self and the nature of reality, and you're keen to dive deeper into these mysteries with us, be sure to subscribe. That way, you won't miss out on future adventures in consciousness. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep remembering who you truly are.